This is the Aftermarket Radio Network.
Welcome, everyone, to yet another episode of Diagnosing the Aftermarket A to Z. I'm Matt Fanslow, and due to popular demand, I have someone back on the podcast. Oddly enough, shortly after the divorce episode, so I don't know. We might be learning something very, very new today. It's my wife, Danielle. She is a drug and alcohol counselor for Zumbro Valley in Rochester, Minnesota. So thank you for being on again. The NAPA Expo will be held July 18th through the 21st at the Venetian Convention and Expo Center in Las Vegas. Stay on the forefront of the latest technologies and industry trends. Registration opens April 2022. Not enrolled, but interested in attending? Contact your servicing NAPA store for more information. So the last episode we talked, I guess, about quite a few different things concerning substance use disorder. Probably one of the things we tried to hammer home, or I should probably say you tried to hammer home, was to try to stop using the word addiction,
right,
and using substance use disorder.
Correct. Yeah.
So I guess maybe something I didn't ask and probably would be really interesting to know more about is kind of the diagnostic, maybe not the process, but how do you arrive at a diagnosis of a substance use disorder?
Sure. First, they come in for an assessment and answer a whole bunch of questions. But at the end, a few are most important. So you can have a mild, moderate, or severe diagnosis. And now they've changed it over the years. If you use one substance or you use multiple, it used to be like a polysubstance use disorder, but now they have individual criteria for each. And then ultimately you get like a mild, moderate, and severe. So one of the things is if the substance is taken in larger amounts or over a longer period than was intended. So kind of that, I'm just going to have 2 beers tonight, and then you drink 12. That would be one criteria. Or you've tried to cut down, you have a desire to quit using it, the substance, but have been unsuccessful. So, and just the persistent desire to stop, kind of like smoking cigarettes is one where you're like, I really want to stop, and they don't. They've tried gum, they've tried medication, whatnot, and then they continue to smoke cigarettes.
Would something like, it seems like a common scenario, I could be full of it, but it seems like a common scenario is I want to quit smoking. I want to quit vaping. They stop a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month. And then you see them smoking again. And usually they have a response of like, it's just too much stress going on. There's too many things going on in my life. And it's almost like stuff gets blown out of proportion for the reaction. Does that follow along those same lines a little bit, or it's more
I would say so, because it's a persistent desire. I mean, there's been desire and they continue regardless if it's 3 days, they start again, or a week, or a month. They've tried to cut down or cut back and been unsuccessful. So there's 11 different criteria. If you meet 2 of those, you have a mild diagnosis, and then continue to go up moderate. If you have 6 or more, then that's a severe diagnosis. If they're craving, I mean, I'm guessing when somebody is looking to stop smoking cigarettes and they're smoking again in a month, they're experiencing cravings. Psychological. It's more psychological than it is physical, because even with cigarettes, you have physical desire based on like, headaches or fatigue or things like that from smoking cigarettes and then quitting. More criteria too is continued use despite having like persistent or recurrent social or interpersonal problems. And then tolerance, withdrawal. So there's a few interesting things with tolerance, but one thing is that you need, so if somebody has 2 beers and now they need 6 to feel a buzz or catch a buzz, that would be a tolerance. But they can also decrease their tolerance because they use so much. So your body starts rejecting with like alcohol or other substances, but alcohol, I've seen it the most obvious, I guess, where it's easy to see the tolerance decrease. So they've drank over a number of years and now they have 2 shots of liquor and they're blitzed. And before they used to be able to drink a whole bottle. And so now their tolerance is decreased because...
That's interesting you bring that up, because I guess I've witnessed that from family members specifically. I guess we'll just say a couple family members. I never thought about that I've witnessed that where they have drank their chosen beverage in high volumes for decades.
Yep.
It's just like you say, it used to seem like it would take so much. Their tolerance was so high. They may even argue they couldn't get drunk.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Wow. Family events or whatever, they came in stone sober, but yeah, after not that many, they were 3 sheets to the wind hard. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating.
Never thought of that.
Not good, fascinating, I guess, but it's fascinating to me how much it affects each person differently, honestly. People can, like, sometimes they'll think, oh, I think my, cousin's an alcoholic, he drinks every weekend. But that doesn't really qualify him to be an alcoholic, right? You kind of look at these different criterias and is this happening in their life? Are they, one question I ask, so there's recurrent use resulting in failure to fulfill major role obligations at like work, school, or home. So you think about the people that are calling in on Monday morning because they have a hangover. That would be one of those things. It doesn't take much to diagnose somebody. Yeah,
and I don't want this to go like a tangent or sound like I'm trying to really push an agenda or anything, but one question that kind of pops in my head when you say that with the either drinking every weekend or having something, whatever that may be, every evening. If they're sitting there across from you going through this process of, your diagnostic process, the analysis, whatever, interview, say they pass, say they don't really qualify, or if they do, they're really on the low end, but they do tell you, I get home from work every night. It's a couple of, we'll pick on beer, right? It's a couple beers every night.
Yep.
And that by itself may not qualify them. But do you find yourself having to say something like, be careful? And it sounds like I'm pushing something here. It's just an honest curiosity of, is this maybe a gateway, or not so much like the chemical portion of it, but the habit, the training of your body, of your brain as a coping mechanism for the process of coming home, relaxing, getting over a rough day, whatever. And, I'm not trying. I know it sounds like I may be pushing for something here, and it's not. I really wonder, is that something you just say, hey, just be careful with that?
I think I might try to bring awareness. What I find though is you don't see too much of that when they're coming in the office, or it'll be, I just have a couple a night, and that's not the truth. They're having more.
Yeah, okay.
And then I follow up with questions. If you're having a couple, have you noticed that, your tolerance is higher and you're really not getting that effect that you're finding 3 or 4, works better. And a lot of times they'll be like, yeah, sometimes. But so not necessarily, I don't do too much of that just because I'm really there to assess their situation, not educate, not do anything. But, if it's, sometimes it can be a really good conversation that we're having and they have a little bit of worry about drinking every night. And then I might go into, trying to bring awareness to it, especially with alcohol mostly. With those things, usually people don't just, use meth casually. So, or other hard drugs.
Right,
so
right.
Alcohol is the most conversation that you could bring that up.
Well, because it's so it's legal,
it's legal.
Of course.
So then, it's okay if they have drinks every night. I mean, there's nothing, what they think is wrong with that. And so I don't know right or wrong, and it kind of makes me think of, what's the goal here? What are you using it for? Do you need to use every night or things like that?
Yeah, and it's just kind of woven into the fabric or tapestry of our culture that, hey, invite friends over, have a good time, and there's the ice chest full of whatever,
right?
Wine coolers, and you can't have a good Super Bowl Sunday without it. So it's just really
very much so
woven. We don't have the commercials on TV yet where it's like, hey, everybody come over and we'll have some purple haze or something of that nature. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Sometimes I'd rather
we just wouldn't have that.
Yeah.
Right. Or raves are a regular part.
Yeah.
That's not something we do, but definitely have alcohol at family events and holidays and all that.
Yeah, I wish there was more. I wish there was more commercials, or advertisements or whatnot that didn't have that alcohol involved. And like, hey, let's do this. Give ideas to people that is natural fun instead of having to be, intoxicated some way in order to have fun because my clients struggle with that. I mean, that's a huge trigger for them when they're watching the Super Bowl completely sober and they haven't thought about drinking at all. And then they're watching this, they're enjoying themselves sober. And then that commercial comes on and boom, there's that trigger. And then they think, God, I would have a lot more fun too. And it's not even like that awareness right out front like that, but it's just subconsciously they're, sitting there thinking that would be nice. It could be after the game. It could be next week. It might stay the entire week with them. And then next weekend, they're actually drinking instead of Super Bowl weekend because of that commercial. It all started there.
I know we mentioned it in the last episode, but it bears repeating.
Yeah.
That, at the recovery community for the New Year's Eve, we had a big sober party and a lot of people, a lot of stuff, a lot of activities, card games, video games, music, dancing, food. Holy cow, food.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them were kind of like, I didn't know you could have this much fun,
right?
Without. That's not the way the commercial industry works.
No, I don't
know what you're going to sell.
Yeah, I don't
Cards
know.
Against Humanity. Have the time of your life.
Sober fun. Yeah, that would be. I've been a lot in my group that I run, intensive outpatient treatment, which is another thing that goes with diagnosing, and where you're going to place people that meet criteria. At least in my field, where I would. If I assess them, where they would go from there, which I can touch on that. But something I've been saying,
please do.
Yeah, in my group it's different laughing drunk or intoxicated on drugs, whatever it is. It's so much different laughing sober and having that like gut laugh, and it's all natural, and it's the most coming from, from the world that. Where I was always high or, intoxicated throughout the day and then getting sober. There's nothing like that kind of laughing where it's just real. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's real. And that's what I love about that. And I just wish people could experience that or appreciate it, if they don't have an issue, and just really appreciate that feeling of being able to smile and laugh and be happy without having to be intoxicated. It's awesome. But when I diagnose with a mild, usually if I'm diagnosing a mild use disorder, could be cocaine use disorder, which is rare. Sometimes, maybe they have a severe alcohol use disorder, but they use cocaine, at the bar, whatever, every once in a while. I would say I could diagnose that as mild, or maybe not at all, honestly, because if they're doing it every once in a while and they're having no issues with cocaine and really they're just have used it maybe twice in the last year, they wouldn't qualify for a diagnosis. I mean, that's
what little of that I know about is very little. A lot of them use that type, cocaine or that type of drug, is so they can stay awake longer to drink more.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's a couple things. They're just, it's the party, right? They're, oh yeah, you got cocaine, all right, awesome, And then there's, they can drink as much as they want and continue that, and now stay up till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, have a buzz from cocaine and alcohol. So it's the way to do it. Yes. No. So
I do that playing Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
who needs that stuff?
Yep. So if I diagnose with usually if I'm diagnosing, it's like a mild, it'll be something like that, or mild alcohol use disorder, because they come in and they got a DUI, and then you get a DUI, and the first one usually is a recommendation of like a DUI class, education class. You teach about alcohol, how it affects the body, things like that. Also about the law regarding DUI. Usually there will be presentation by, many places are different, so I can't say this is for every, but where I work is how this goes. And then they'll have a presentation by a mother that's lost her child to a drunk driver. And that's kind of it. That's the requirement. The legal requirement is that. And then, or I'll have somebody come in, and then they qualify for a moderate, cannabis use disorder and alcohol use disorder. And I might put them, depending, it just depends what they want. Because if there's legal obligations, a lot of times probation will want to see them in some sort of treatment. They might have quit 3 months ago after they got their second DWI, or after, their possession charge or something like that. But, and maybe that's it. They're done for, who knows, but most of the time I'm putting that person in like a basics class to really teach them about the basics of recovery, sobriety, what it means to be, to bring awareness to that, what it means, the risk of having a substance use disorder, kind of things like that. So really a medium intensity outpatient treatment group. That might be 4 hours a week. That might be 2 hours a week, under 9 hours a week though. And then anybody with a severe alcohol use disorder or any use disorder, most of the time I'm recommending, depending on their sobriety length now too, because, which we can go into this, but say they've had a week sober and they need treatment, and they've been using for 5 years, 10 years, whatever, I might be putting them in an intensive outpatient treatment. Intensive outpatient means 9 hours of treatment up to 15 hours of treatment a week. And that's what I do for my job, is I run an intensive outpatient treatment group. Those are usually the longer term programs. So my program runs for 8 months. So if somebody comes in, and that's what I recommend, I mean, they're committed to that for 8 months. Legal, if they have legal charges, that kind of keeps them in there instead of wanting to leave, and what I really hope for them is that once they get in there and they don't want to be there, that by the time they get to the end, they're asking me, can I please stay? That's what I hope. And I get that, sometimes from time to time. So, and then there's also people that are ready to change. And that's something we could talk about too, but, that are ready to change. They have no legal charges. They just have had enough. They've had years of this. And so it doesn't matter though, if I'm diagnosing with severe and they're ready to change, I'm going to say, well, if you're truly ready, I would still recommend like an intensive outpatient treatment, just because then that gives them the structure, and, hopefully they can gain peer support and start, integrating into the community and just really building, from there, and have that for a long period of time. And then if you have, this is kind of the last one, I guess, there's a lot to it, but just in general, if somebody's using every day, they come in, they use the day before, they can't get sober in an intensive outpatient treatment. It's just the way it is. It's habitual. They're still in it. They're in the physical, they will physically withdraw, mentally withdraw. It's already hard. Even if somebody has a week sober, it's hard you don't see very much where they have a week sober, they come in, we put them in intensive outpatient, and then they just stay sober throughout the whole thing. That's very, very rare, which is fine. You work with where they're at. Then I would recommend, so if they're using every day and they can't get off on their own, then I'm recommending residential treatment where they stay. A lot more residential treatments are starting to do, at least in Minnesota, I don't know where else, but at least 60 days, 45 to 90 days stays, which is fantastic. If it takes you 10 years to get to this point of having this severe substance use disorder, it's going to take some time to unwind. So 30 days is nothing for residential. But it's a safe place to sober up. And then hopefully after residential, people are going into that intensive outpatient to still have structure and kind of go into the community. So
there's kind of a lot of stuff I want to comment on there.
Please
or
do.
At least bring up, I think, avenues of discussion. One was people that are ready to change. When I hear that, not from you specifically, but a lot of people, I just really want to call BS on the whole rock bottom stuff. That I think there's a lot of borderline propaganda out there that for somebody in the throes of substance use disorder or an addiction of some sort, they have to hit rock bottom before they'll be ready to change. And almost training people to help them hit the rock bottom faster. So like the intent of not allowing somebody to stay with you, or maybe not even that, coming over for a holiday, that punishment is trying to rush them to the bottom. And it's not so much that as much as the boundary, setting the boundary there.
Mm-hmm. Which in turn could help.
So I guess I was going to throw that back to you, was about the rock bottom thing. That are there situations where you're telling people like, you haven't hit rock bottom yet?
No, never. I don't use that, I guess. I agree. I mean, I don't think you have to hit your rock bottom. Because what is that? I mean, ultimately that's death. So I guess I don't use that. I think more what I use is, have you gone through enough pain? Are you done? Have you experienced enough pain where you feel like you want to change, truly change? And really you have to change everything. So, and some people aren't ready. It's just the way it is. And they have to do more research, is what we call it out there. So one of my things in like my introduction is, are you willing to do anything? Some people, it's interesting to watch people answer that. Some will say yes, just yes. And then the next question is, well, what are you willing to do? And you'll see a lot of limits there. And so that kind of tells me that they have their own idea of what they think they need to change. And so, which is fine. I guess I don't judge them for that. And then what I do is kind of let them, okay, you try what you're thinking. And then, depending on if it works, great. If it doesn't, which most of the time, I mean, their way has really got them here, then they can come back to me and go, okay, it didn't work. And then I can suggest things, and they're more apt to listen to that. I guess I could touch a little bit on my story, and because it's something triggered when you said not letting them to like holidays and things like that. I think there's part of that does push people to want to change, because that contributes to that pain. My mom won't let me in the house anymore. How crappy of a person am I that they won't let me come to Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever it is. And so I feel like if you continue, which I know maybe we have time to get to enabling a little bit, I think really keeps people in their substance use. Truly. And not that it's the enabler's fault. They just don't know. I don't think they know, and then if they do, then that's a whole nother thing. But so like my story, I struggle with talking specifically about myself, but, So I was in and out of jail.
She lies. Yeah. She talks about herself all the time.
No way. I listen to you all the time.
Put a freaking microphone in front of her and now it's Miss Humility.
Right. So I started hard drugs, I guess, or addicted to hard drugs when I was 21, maybe 22, whatever. And I started using Vicodin. I had my daughter and they prescribed me Vicodin. I really liked it. I tried like Percocet before, which is also an opiate. And for some reason, it was like I was okay not using that again. Like something clicked after I had my daughter. And I'm guessing it's maybe a little bit of postpartum depression. I could get up off the couch. I felt good. That's what I was using to really just help me operate through the day. And then I was feeling buzzed too. I liked that. So it was just that. And then I was offered heroin when I worked at Super America. And I was looking, so it became like a desperation thing because I was out of Vicodin. So I had progressed enough that I would feel withdrawals from the Vicodin and I couldn't find any more. The person that I used to get it from was out. And then so I was kind of, looking to regulars, judging to see if there was somebody that maybe would know where to get something. So I found a guy who fit the look and asked for Vicodin, and he said, no, I don't have Vicodin. And he's like, but I know what else we could get. And I'm like, okay, well, what is that? And he said heroin. So at first I really rejected that. I mean, I had kind of that typical thought because I knew nothing about heroin of like, I'm not going to be that some, black tar heroin person who's shooting up and in the alley. And like, that was scary to me. That's what I thought, that what I saw on TV, what I saw on Intervention, that really was what I thought heroin was. But he said, no, it's nothing like that. You don't have to do any of that. It's powder and you can snort it. So I was like, okay, I'm in. I was desperate. I was in physical withdrawal. And so that's where it began. And the first time was the best. And that's kind of what I chased. And then I got to a point where it was just maintaining, where I couldn't get out of bed without it. Or I could get out of bed just to go get it. Like that was, where that led. But, which I know maybe we could talk more about that too. But I was going to just say what happened where it became enough pain for me was that I was in and out of jail. I was, driving, pulled over. They asked for my insurance. I ended up, it became more than just snorting heroin for me. It became using needles. Because I thought, well, why not? I watched somebody else do it and they use half as much in their needle as I do smoking or snorting it. And so if I decided to inject, then I would get higher and it would last longer. I mean, that's no brainer. Right? So that's really what that drove me down the fastest, because as you start doing that, you go into withdrawal faster. So it was just all this really fast downward spiral. And so I have needles, and going in, I get pulled over for a broken taillight. And then, I go in my glove box and there's needles, and I'm trying to hide them, trying to close it. Maybe it's not in there and they saw it, and then I'm blaming it on the guy I was seeing, and then he is getting arrested. And so it was just kind of like all these things. And then eventually they catch up with me because obviously it's not just him, it's me too. And yeah. And then, but what was happening is, like, I would be in jail in withdrawal. You can't get drugs in there, not in county jail, maybe in prison, but at least I couldn't. But like my mom, I would call her, you get your one phone call and she'd be like, yeah, no, I know you're safe tonight, so I'm not coming to get you. And And then she also wouldn't. Another thing is like put money on my books. What that means is just give me money so I can buy, chips, pop, candy, whatever. And so I'm watching all these girls that I would be in jail with. They're all eating well. Jailhouse food sucks. So, but that's what I had to eat. I didn't have money. Nobody was putting money on my books. Nobody was bailing me out of jail. And so that was just one thing that was painful. And so what she did well was not enable me. And I think it ultimately helped me. I think it got me, because if I could come in and out of jail and somebody was bailing me out, oh, that'd have been fantastic. I mean, I would have got bailed out and I would have got my drugs, felt better, and kept this cycle going. And so sitting in there, not doing well, helped contribute to the pain. And then, people started not talking to me and, didn't trust me, didn't want to be around me. I mean, things like that. So that really was painful. And ultimately, like I had mentioned my daughter, she was affected and was taken from me for a while. And it took a year to get her back. But all that was enough for me, that I was just miserable. I was alone. I didn't want to, it was just me and my drug. I mean, really. And then sometimes I wouldn't be able to get that, because how am I going to get that? I don't work a job. I can't work a job, because if I'm not going up to the city that I went to go get my drugs every day, then I would be out. So then I wouldn't work, and then I would try to have to find money other ways. And yeah, it was just this vicious cycle, and I was so tired of it. And I guess you could say that would be a bottom, but it wasn't, because I had relapsed too. I mean, all that happened. And then I was sober for a while, and then I relapsed again. So yeah, it's this fine line, but I had went through, a lot of pain, which it did end up getting sober for quite some time, maybe a couple years. But I didn't continue to work on myself. I really stopped, and I was just working and doing my thing and thinking that I'll be okay. Just, all those problems, right? They go away. I don't need to keep working on it. That's not the case. So I still need to work on those. I'm not as desperate anymore. Like, I was very desperate to get my drug to maintain my high, or just maintain so I'm not going into physical withdrawal. Well, when I got sober, I mean, I had to really be like that. When I truly got sober, like, because now I have 7 years, I had to really do that same thing, like all that effort that I had put into that drug and, going up to the cities every day, just everything. I really had to put that into my recovery. So every day I was doing something for my recovery. Every day. There wasn't a day that I missed. I mean, I went into the ditch right by her house and still got a ride home, left the car in the ditch, and grabbed our other car to go to an AA meeting. That's how I had to be that way, though, because I was so terrified that I would have to experience that pain again. And I don't want that. I still don't. And I didn't want that then. And so I was really doing anything I could to have recovery, I guess. So
I blamed her driving skill or lack of for putting this car into the ditch. It was a Ford Focus. Yep. So if any of you are familiar with those, this would have been like a 2002 Ford Focus. And it was pretty icy out. It was really icy out that morning. And she's going to her meeting, and they're very, very important. And she goes in the ditch, hitchhikes back to the house, takes the other vehicle, does not put that one in the ditch, lets me know that she put the first one in the ditch. So the whole time, me and a local shop let me go get it with their tow truck, and I'm berating her driving skills the whole time.
That's nice.
Yeah, I was. I'm coming clean. And, whatever. I drive it to work that Monday morning, check it over and see how much crap she broke. and it's still pretty icy out. And I kid you not, it was everything I could do to keep that stupid thing on the road. I mean, it was rough. There was a lot of stuff that had to be done in the rear end to get that thing to go down the road straight. It's not so much on dry pavement, it was fine, but you get in the little slippery situations and good. Yeah. So yeah, it was pretty impressive you made it as far as you did.
See, I'm a good driver. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I had to go back and tell the tow truck driver it really wasn't your lack of driving skills. It was the car. I did go back and clear up your reputation.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. I wasn't texting and driving or why does she put this in a ditch on straight road?
Hey guys, Matt here talking to you about what the NAPA Auto Care Center program can do for your business. You probably already know the NAPA brand is the most recognized and trusted name in the automotive aftermarket industry. In fact, studies show nearly 95% of customers recognize NAPA and associate it with quality parts, service, and technical expertise. So why not complete a Pro Image upgrade and take advantage of that? Pro Image is a co-branding program for the exterior and interior of your shop. On the outside, it includes the NAPA colors and distinctive NAPA signage. While the public may know you as a reliable, locally owned business, a Pro Image upgrade helps set your shop apart from the competition even further. It is also a visual signal to your customers and potential customers that you and NAPA are partners. Most importantly, Pro Image really works. This co-branding opportunity has helped NAPA Auto Care Centers across the country increase their car counts and sales. In fact, those that have completed the Pro Image project enjoy an average of 23% sales increase during their first year. Pro Image upgrades are also available for the interior of your shop. A Pro Image interior upgrade transforms your customer waiting area from merely utilitarian to warm and welcoming. The goal is to maintain your shop's independent identity while enhancing the customer's experience. You can get a free look at what a Pro Image exterior or interior upgrade can look like by visiting the NAPA Auto Care member site and clicking on the NAPA Pro Image link under the NAPA Pro Image tab, or contact your local NAPA Auto Parts store. Your servicing NAPA store can tell you more about Pro Image plus the hundreds of other reasons to become part of the NAPA Auto Care family, the largest network of independent auto repair shops in the country. I don't know if it's a good time to bring this up, but it seems to kind of go in line a little bit with what you were talking about. That I don't know if it's so much a mindset. I don't want to say the mindset, but just the severity or the scope of what you're talking about with the need. I think the need to use, at least your body telling you so, your brain telling you so. So one quick story is kind of a rock star story, and then another one is very, very quick about you, and it's not condescending in by any means. One is, and what I hope is this qualifies things. It's my only hope. Is Nikki Sixx is a guitar player for Motley Crue. Motley Crue is not one of my favorite bands. They're freaking hair metal, so they're meaningless to me. I do like 6 a.m., however. Sure. A band he started. And Motley Crue is, and specifically Nikki Sixx, was well known for partying, drugs, rock and roll. I mean, they were living it up. And he was extremely, I don't know if that's even a good technical term, but addicted to heroin, hardcore. And on the way to a practice, he's starting to go into withdrawals. So he pulls into a Denny's. And because of other drug use, I think specifically cocaine, he's developed the habit of needing to do whatever he's going to do. In this case, inject in a very confined area so that he feels like nobody can see him do it. Part of it, I think, shame, and a lot of it was a paranoia. And I don't think so much paranoia from the opioids, specifically heroin, but cocaine. The cocaine stuff was making them very, very paranoid.
Sure.
So where I'm going with this is he pulls into the Denny's, goes into the bathroom, goes into the toilet stall. And not to turn this into like a cooking show or a how-to, but part of the process of using heroin is you dilute it with water. And he used the toilet water, which I hope makes everyone go, ew. Because I think it has to hammer home this understanding of you're not going to these lengths because you want to. We're out of the realm of want.
Right. Yep.
Right. I really want a cheeseburger. I dropped it on a really dirty floor. I don't have enough money for another cheeseburger. I'm probably not eating the cheeseburger. I mean, we're talking about a dirty floor. I'm not picking it up, brushing it off. I'd be more apt to drop it on the shop floor, pick it up, dust it off, or wipe it off and eat it than I am the restaurant. Mm-hmm. But we're in the needs world. This is now if you're the same cheeseburger scenario, but you are starving to death. Yep. You're picking up the cheeseburger, brushing it off, and you're eating it.
Yep.
And letting the dirt crunch in your teeth and whatever. You need the cheeseburger. That's he's in there because he needs it. And then the other thing was we were together. This is after the relapse. You're on methadone, but you missed by like fraction. Yeah,
5
you
minutes.
missed getting it.
Yep.
Again, it's trying to qualify things. If you guys listening could have seen her reaction as the day was going on, really early in the day, because she knew what was coming. The withdrawals were going to come. Without the methadone, the withdrawals were coming. There's a foregone conclusion. It was going to suck. And just, I mean, mortified maybe? I mean, it was, I felt so bad.
You couldn't do anything. What do you do? Yeah, they won't let you in past a certain time. Yeah, that was, I still remember that because it was, I think some of it was, I didn't know what it would be like, even just one day. So I think I was psyching myself up sometimes. I tried not to, because I know that was one thing, is just like we had talked about it, is trying not to think about it. You know, part of a withdrawal is, you know, at least within that day, you know, you're going to get it the next day. So, but part of that withdrawal, yeah, can be psychological. And I think some of it was, and some of it wasn't. It wasn't as bad as heroin withdrawal. But I think a lot of it was the traumatic history, I guess, that I had from heroin withdrawal that probably contributed to I was fearful. I mean, I didn't want to go through that, right? I'd worked so hard not to have to go through withdrawal again, and I had a good system down, and then I had missed that dose.
And it was fairly early on.
Yeah, it was.
And maybe there was, you know, because it does build up in your system.
Yeah, so heroin and methadone, you know, as I've become more educated in this, I guess, but methadone really is like a slow decline. And a slow build too. So, you know, you build slowly and then you can kind of, it's just like a trail off, not nearly as steep of a incline and decline. So heroin's really, you know, big burst up and then a huge drop down. But that's what I was scared of what would happen, regardless if I don't know if I knew that at that time, but I was scared. I mean,
it just seemed early on you were psyching yourself out. And yep. I know I was kind of trying to help. Again, I don't know if I was helping. Like some of this, it's kind of winging. I
think you helped significantly. I think one thing, and maybe I said this before, you did a lot of research about addiction, and I don't know what you researched, but you did a lot, and it just seemed to change your attitude.
Wouldn't you like to know?
Yeah, seemed to change your attitude and just very supportive. And I think that even being able to just talk about it is helpful. I don't think you need to do anything. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not saying I knew I felt like at the beginning it was predominantly psychological. as the day went on, especially that evening, it became very physical. There was physical discomfort. Yes. I don't know if it was pain, but it was definitely discomfort. Definitely after you had eventually fallen asleep, the muscle spasms throughout the night, that you were not feeling well at all.
Right.
Again,
we don't want to scare people away from methadone, because methadone's a fantastic.
No. Methadone was an answer. Methadone is, I'm not an expert at all. But it seems to me methadone gets kind of a bad rap.
Yes.
Especially versus Suboxone, which I'm not sure I understand, because I think methadone is more effective. I know there's more BS involved, especially in those early stages where you have to kind of work your way up, not just to the levels in your system, but you have to work up to a level to be able to get your carry home so that you can go a few days, a week without visiting the clinic, that you get your dailies.
Right. You have to really, be committed to it. Yep.
Yeah. But it seems like, and not knocking Suboxone at all, because that has given a lot of people their lives back. So that's an answer too. But methadone just seems to get a bad rap. I don't necessarily understand it. It does seem more effective.
Well, I mean, I can tell you a little bit about why. I think there's...
So you agree with me?
That there's a bad rap?
Well, okay, that I thought was... You're commenting about the bad rap, not the effectiveness. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, I haven't done enough research to really see if methadone's more effective over Suboxone, but it might just be that it could be just for the fact that you do have to commit to it, go to the clinic every day, right? And so what it did, even for me, I think, looking back on it, even though it was a huge hassle to have to go, because the nearest methadone clinic for me was 45 minutes away. So every day I'm driving 45 minutes there, 45 minutes back. But the good thing about it, I think, was it gave me structure. I mean, every day I had to go get my dose. I'd talk to, not all the time, but either talk to a counselor, say hi to people, right? It gave me a connection with other people that also had opioid use disorder. And I would have to take urinalysis. So they'd put our name on a board anytime we were called for a random UA. So that gave me accountability. And I used it for the right reasons. But I think it gave me, the structure that I needed in the beginning. I had to go there every day. And then I would go there just like I would if I had to, right? Go get my drug. That's what I was doing, driving up to the cities every day, coming up with the bullcrap excuse of why I needed to leave the house. But it did the same thing. And so, but this is regulated, and I have support with it, and it saved my life, honestly. I don't know how it would have been without it if I would have continued to relapse. I don't know. It gave me, the capability to learn coping skills and have a medication where I wasn't craving throughout the day for my drug of choice. And so then, I had to, like I said, I was desperate enough already to change, though. I had enough pain, and that's that thing where, because people can be on methadone and they continue to use. So, there's, I don't know. It's kind of this balancing act. So I was ready either way. However, I think it just helped significantly and increase my chances of not going back to the substance of heroin. I wanted to say one thing about the bad rap first with methadone is that what will happen is, because we are addicts, I guess, right? There's kind of this thing that qualifies that, and there's things that come along with it, right? We are very good at lying, manipulating, and just trying to protect our substance use disorder. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to protect that. And so it's almost like its own entity, and it's taken out, and here's your disorder, and then here's you. And that thing's constantly telling you that you need it, right? Kind of that thing with the food where you need it. And so if you don't have it, then bad things are going to happen. You will not survive this if you do not have this substance. Alcohol, doesn't matter what substance, it's just kind of all the same. And then, so you get really good at lying and manipulating people, or systems, or just trying to find a way to protect it. And so people would go up to the methadone window, right? And they'd be like, the nurses, and no bad rap for them or whatnot, but they'd be like, how is your methadone working for you? And so I could say, right, so my immediate brain that's involved in addiction is thinking, well, if I say it's not working very well, then that means they'll increase my dose. And so many, many people would do that. And then they would get up. So they would get up in doses. And now they're getting high from this instead of using it for what it is to get off heroin, to stop withdrawals, to help with cravings. And that's really what it's supposed to be used for. And that's what I used it for. Now, in the beginning, I started at 70 milligrams, and it's in liquid. I don't know why they do it milligrams, but whatever. So that's what I was at. And they're like, well, do you want to go up another 10? My automatic thought, right, is like, yeah, I mean, why not? But then I was like, no, I'm good. My logical brain kind of met up with that and is like, I don't need more. I'm making it through the day. I'm not going through withdrawals, things like that. And so I said no, and they were, and then they said, are you sure? And so then it reignites that in me to go, well, am I sure? No, you want more, And then I really had to do it, I think at least 3 times, say no, that I did not want an increase in my dose. Okay. So now you have all these hundreds of people coming into the clinic getting asked that same thing, and it ignites that. And so then they manipulate the system, and they go up to 150 milligrams, 210 milligrams. I mean, I've seen people really, really, really high doses. Now, some people need that. I'm not saying that all of them, 70 milligrams would work for them. And so regardless, they would do that. And then you have the ones that really aren't ready to change again. And so they would go up to high doses. They would figure out a way to get take home so they don't have to go to the clinic every day. And then they would sell it, right? Give it away, whatever, or continue to use heroin. I had a client or whatever that he goes to the methadone clinic and about once a week is still using heroin. Why? I feel like I didn't do that. Why can't you just, that's just not how it works. His brain constantly is telling him that he needs more. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. So I think it gets a bad rap. And I think, you are going to get the people that don't use it for what it is. And those are the people that stick out, right? Because they continue to commit crimes. They continue to lie and manipulate. And so, yeah. But people like me, it needs to be around because it really saves lives too. So I just did it, which I know we'll talk about this too, but I just did it in a way that I utilized that for what it was. And then I also utilized, right, many other things. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And so I'll just go right into this. But when I was sober for that couple years, right, I got my daughter. Wasn't fully back until I met you. So I didn't get her back yet, but I was close. I was very, very close. And so I was working part-time, maybe full-time. I don't know, around there, about 32 hours maybe. And I really liked the place that I was at. I was attending outpatient treatments. My employer was so supportive of that, which was really, really cool. And then, but I wasn't going to meetings. I wasn't doing much for myself. So I was in a relationship. It wasn't a relationship that I really wanted to be in. Like I knew that. And so instead of caring, I didn't care for myself, I guess. I was caring for that person, trying to figure out how to get my daughter back. I was going to outpatient treatment. I was bought in, I really wanted to be sober. I knew that. Like I said, I went through a lot of pain. And so I wasn't fully committed. I still had my own ideas, like what I thought life should be, what I thought recovery was. And so it was just, I do really what I wanted. I'll listen to you. I maybe try some things, but ultimately I'll just make my own decisions. Right. And so the biggest thing of all is that I needed to get my daughter back. I mean, I love my daughter to death. That was my huge motivator for me. But I wasn't a motivator for me. So, like, I feel like that's really what brought the difference, is when I got sober the next time. That was at least 50% of the factors. So I had a lot of external factors, like I was still on probation. So I had that. I'd gotten my daughter back. I didn't want to lose her again. I had a son. And then obviously, I had you, and I had my family who had left me before. So don't even comment on that. I was trying to
very hesitant on that one.
That was not meant to be like that.
Just because it's my podcast, you have to throw that out there, and you just felt the obligation rolling off your tongue.
But those are all external, right? So I can do it for all those reasons, but that couldn't be the only reason, even though that's a lot. It's just not it. I couldn't do it and not take care of myself too. And so I think the next time I got sober, that was the difference. Before I wasn't really looking in the mirror at myself and loving me. Like, I wouldn't look in the mirror. I guess that wasn't maybe just do my hair or my makeup or something like that, but it wasn't like looking at me, if that makes sense. I don't know how else to explain it.
It makes perfect sense to me, but you're talking to somebody that never looks at themselves in the mirror.
So I had a really low self-esteem. I didn't love myself, who I was. I had so much shame and guilt and things built up inside me that I wasn't working on that first time. I was doing, the only thing I was doing, which isn't not to discount it because it's important, is being sober. That was my only thing. So I was living a regular life, just like everybody else that, if they're just working a job, taking care of their kids in a relationship, doing those things, which I thought was the answer, right? That's what everybody tries to go towards, that American dream. But it all didn't matter because I didn't like who I was still. The second time I relapsed, it was actually after I had my son. And that's why I had mentioned the first time about having my daughter, because I really think postpartum affected me. And then I swore off children. So no more children.
Yeah. Swore off, swear at.
Do not. But therapy was a big fact. The second time too, I started therapy, and that it was a therapist that challenged me, which is important. I feel like for people with substance use disorders is to find a therapist that listens to you, but doesn't agree with you, because I thought I had my ideas, like I said, and then they're like, you're looking at this wrong, and this is what you should really do. And that I just was blown away. So
I wish you would say what you said in the vehicle though about that.
Yeah. Well, my ideas got me here.
And not even just yours specifically.
My clients, yeah, even too, but everybody with substance use disorders, it's kind of like you've been using for 10 years, and your ideas got you here. So it's time to listen to suggestion and then do something different. Maybe it's something you don't want to do even, but what you think is right probably isn't at this point. Come on, this is what got you here.
So all I want to do is toss out here quick, because this is an automotive podcast. Or at least the aftermarket. That sounds remarkably like shop owners, managers, technicians who are unhappy with where they're at. And they kind of almost half-ass ask for advice. And even if they do get good advice, good free advice, or the stuff they pay for out the nose, they reject it. Or they don't really apply it because they feel like they know their business better. They know their clients better. They know themselves better. And just like you said, your ideas are what got you here. Why do you trust your ideas? So back on track. I just wanted to toss that out there. When you said that in the vehicle on our drive to breakfast this morning, that it exploded in my head like, yeah, I've seen this before. Anyways.
It's true, though. I mean, it really is. If, and that's kind of, you have to, put your hands up and go, okay, and trust in the process and really trust other people to almost manage your life. And, eventually you can start making your own decisions. I don't think that's gone. And ultimately you do anyways. It's your choice what you do and what you don't do. But I think you do just have to let go. You really have to surrender and let go. And I actually heard that in AA because, we're good talkers and we think we have the answer. So I'm talking and they're like, so where did your ideas get you? Oh, crap. You're right. And that really just stuck with me.
Right. And sometimes when that happens and you get another idea or perspective, forces you over to that perspective. And then if you try that advice and you see the results, now you, all of a sudden you are starting to see the world differently. And
well, you have some buy-in now to listen to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now maybe maybe a little nudge and now already you're making better decisions. And maybe it's a few more. I mean, everybody's different, but I guess I can't agree enough. And that's not just for a substance use disorder or trying to live in recovery, that in life in general, when things are kind of not where you would like them to be or going sideways, you reach out for help and you start getting this advice that you maybe don't know if it's good or bad, but it's different and you don't like it. Maybe you follow it anyways and find out you're just looking at things a little wrong, a little skewed, which would be a completely natural thing. It's like, it's not some big character attack.
No, and it's not like every choice that you've ever made is wrong. I mean, that's not the thing either. It's just certain choices got you where you're at. So, you got to stop making those choices. And if you don't have the answer, which you most likely don't, even if you think you do, that's where you listen to suggestion. And even still to this day, I think that helped me significantly because I was listening to suggestion, not from AA or treatment or therapy or whatever. I was listening to it all over the place. I mean, there were a lot of suggestions that came from you, that came from, where I worked, just everywhere. So I really had my ears open and then would be like, okay, I'll try that. And so I just took from everywhere and then I applied it, little by little, of course, but I just applied those things to my life. And then what worked, I kept, and what didn't work, I left, behind. It wasn't this big thing. That's just what I did. And I really stopped talking and I just started listening. And that was a huge.
So how do we get back to that?
Yeah.
Well, and on that disappointment, wrap this up and I guess I'm going to pay the price, guys. It's going to be steep.
The eggs in one basket. I wanted to just touch on that really, really fast. So you'll have people with substance use disorders like, okay, all I got to do is just go to AA, right? And that'll fix everything for me. And it could. I don't want to say it won't. Like, please go. Even if it's just to experience it. But I think you can go to AA and you can work that program and then you can use what you get from it and you can stay there, or you can go do something else, or you can go to AA and then you can go to a recovery community center and then you can go to church if that's something that you believe in, and you can go to therapy and you can go, work out, like just having all these different avenues of that would promote recovery, whatever that is. And so it's not just putting all your eggs in one basket with AA, because say if you have this home meeting that you go to every Sunday and then something happens there where you just feel uncomfortable going there anymore and you're going to stop. You've made this choice to stop going and now you have nothing. So because that blew up and that was that was a big part of your recovery, and now you don't have that anymore and you have nothing else either. And so you really have to build up a lot of things, not just one thing. You have to have these different parts of recovery. my thing's opioids. So I had the methadone clinic too. I could fall back on that, maybe go talk to my counselor there. I had a therapist. I had my 2 AA meetings. They were at the same place, but that's where I went. Now I'm opioids and I went to an AA meeting because I liked AA. I know that's Alcoholics Anonymous, and but I liked it. I think it helped. I don't know. Because I'd been to NA meetings too at Narcotics Anonymous, and I just liked them better. I also went to morning meetings, so I figured out that morning meetings tend to be more serious. They have more of the solution per se. Not that night meetings don't. I don't want to knock. I'm not trying to knock anything ever. Like, please don't ever take that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you could see
people
how
wake up, right? If they're waking up early enough to go to a meeting, they seem to be serious about it. Or you'll have, I don't know, some of the older people in there that have been in recovery for 15 years, 20 years. I mean, there's just some fantastic people in the morning meetings. And so I just found that worked best for me. And some night meetings, you would have people that maybe are forced to go. And so they're really there not for the solution, but for the signing of the paper so that they can hand it into their probation officer and say, here, I went to one on Saturday night, and it just starts your day off nice. So if you can go to any meetings, try a morning meeting. You can try a night meeting too, but don't just give up after one meeting. Go to 3 or 4, go to 5, whatever. You can't just stop at one, because that people get discouraged and be like, oh, it's not my thing. Well, you went to one, and maybe that's just not the one for you. They're different all across the board. So yeah, that was just my little thing on all. You just have to have a lot of things in place, not just one thing. And I had a really supportive household. I ended up moving back in with Matt, and so he was really mean to me and kicked me out. So
I raised the rent,
but when we could go into enabling too, because I think that ultimately helped me too, is that we were together. I was moved in, or like recently had moved in. Maybe not all my stuff, but which I didn't have a lot because I had lost it over the course of my adventures and substance use. But yeah, he's just, he had to, this is the thing that I didn't have too, which I know I'm kind of going on a rant, but I didn't have boundaries. And so what I think you did well was you set this boundary, and I didn't know what that was. And like I said, I had those 2 years of sobriety, right? But it wasn't recovery. I didn't know how to live, I guess. But you had set that boundary and said, for the safety of my kids, I just can't have you stay here. It was sad, but I think I was definitely like, yeah, this is about the way it goes, And it was okay. It was a good thing. And I think it helped motivate me too, though, because you didn't continue to enable me and be like, well, you can stay here. What can I do to help? Like, you weren't like that. You were like, I'll be supportive of you. But you need to go. So, and it was ultimately a good thing.
I wish I could take credit for that though. I mean, I could keep my mouth shut and sound like I really knew what the hell I was doing. But there was a lot of it was strategy and had.
So you listen to suggestion is what you're saying?
The thing is this was going down during the, I was already divorced, but this was during the court BS stuff, the stuff that was being brought against me, trying to win back custody from me. Or not win back custody, actually, just win.
Yeah.
I already had it. The timing of all this was horrific. I guess I was just livid because of the timing. Like, how could you be doing this now? This is so bad. And this is going to, the events leading up to that, it was going to be in the paper, just handing the ex ammo. And I was scared and furious. And that probably drove the decision more than anything, because, I think I've said this before. One of the hardest things after I said you had to go, partly was damage control for the future court dates with my ex to make sure I got to keep custody of the kids, was walking out of the bedroom that next morning and no baby.
Yep.
He's mine. That's just the way it is. And him not being there, that was rough. I mean, that was so rough. But yeah, I'm very happy to say I think things turned out quite well.
Yeah.
Now I jinxed it, so things are going to hell in the handbasket now. Steckler and I will probably be doing a part 2 soon.
To bring it all back, though, I didn't lose everything at that point, right? So if we bring it back to rock bottom, it wasn't like I had lost my license, I had got criminal charges, right? None of that. I didn't have any of that the second time. So there was no rock bottom. It was just, I was aware that I didn't want to go back there again, where I was in legal trouble, where I was losing my children, things like that, losing somebody I cared about. Yeah. That's you again, but
they're going to think I paid you to say that or offered to buy you something. There was a time you stopped over.
That's something I would have gave up before, though. I would have just been like, whatever. I care about the drug. And I didn't know. I knew.
Well, it was the lawnmower. So
I really like lawnmowers, you guys. So need a guy with a really nice lawnmower.
She worked at the deli, and part of my strategy for seducing her or whatever was we were just talking, and she I had said,
I told you a story.
Somebody had said something about he had a 4-wheeler. I had insinuated she probably got hit on regularly, and then because of that I would not be hitting on her. And she had said somebody was in and said that he had a 4-wheeler a snowmobile, had a snowmobile, so that him and her should go for a ride sometime. And so I'm listening to that and thinking how absurd that is. And then I'm like, well, I have a lawnmower. It's a zero turn.
Zero turn.
What's that?
Oh my God.
So that's how that.
And a minivan. So that was.
We'll talk about that again when we do the dating episode, everybody. It seems like there was something. Oh yeah. At the beginning, you were talking about the levels of substance use disorder, and then the treatment plan, if you will. Okay, is that the right verbiage to use?
Absolutely. Yep.
I hope this is a bit of a softball for you. I'm tossing here. I think
we'll see.
It's almost like I feel like if somebody's in there, especially of their own accord, but regardless, that family members or people close to them should also be involved in such that they're entering into a program, that there's something of a program for everybody else. And part of that idea is learning about enabling and not enabling, trying to walk that line, because I find that line really, really hard to find.
Right.
And I don't know that you can find it, that you're just going to hover around it and do your best not to enable, but to support. Mm-hmm. But to keep going with that, also to set reasonable expectations, because I think you get this idea that, they went through treatment. Well, okay, if they went through 30 days, that isn't going to work. They're just going to relapse. But they went through this 8-month program. They should be all better.
Right.
So when you get out of treatment, and maybe you don't get sober living, maybe you don't get to go live in a recovery house of some sort for a while, that you're back into the world where you were using to begin with, and everybody's expecting you to be okay now. You're cured. Mm-hmm. You should be doing certain things now, like
working full time, having goals. Yeah. Just all these things that you should be doing. Yeah. Being helpful, considerate, have empathy, not struggle with mental health anymore. I mean, just there's so many expectations that are put on people that have substance use disorders. So, and it's not, I don't blame them. It's just, usually they just don't know. So one thing, I'll just use an example, maybe this will help, but I have a client. He struggles with alcohol use. He's there on his own. He's really needing to get his license back or whatever too, but mostly on his own. He doesn't need to go to an 8-month program. He could get reassessed and get a shorter term program. But he decides that, you know what, it might be good for him. So this is his coping mechanism though, is to go drink. And he's with his girlfriend. They live together, and he's been sober a week. It's a task every day to not pick up the drink every day. He's already went through physical withdrawals. There's no physical. It's all mental. And he's having this argument with his girlfriend in that he's, so his job is kind of ridiculous. A couple people have this type of job where they don't have much work right now because the weather's crap, but they'll have work for like 2 days, just enough so that they don't qualify for unemployment. And it's so frustrating. Even to hear about it is frustrating, because how are they supposed to survive working 15 hours a week and then not qualify for unemployment? It's ridiculous. But then it continues like this. So he's not bringing in a whole bunch of money, which is completely out of his control. Sure, he could go look for another job, right? But this is all so the girlfriend's arguing with him about not working so much, not picking up around the house, things like that. And just the amount of effort that it is to just not pick up that drink is really, that can all be expected. And not even expected, because it might still happen, right? But just not putting all this pressure to do these regular things, because that's not what it is. They really need grace within that time to just support how they don't pick up a drink. How can we help with that? Do you want help? You know, if you're going to be there with them during this, do you need help calling somebody? Do you need, I'll pick up the phone for you and call. That's a really hard thing to do for somebody with substance use disorder, is just dialing a phone number, honestly. And so it's really supporting them where they're at. If they're not doing the things one thing with people who have been using for a long time, right? They've been neglecting their things they're expected to do for a long time. And so you've been wanting this person to do these things forever. And now they stopped using. So of course, why they're not drunk or high anymore. They should be able to do these things. No, that's not the case. What they're working on is just trying to love themselves and not feel ashamed and not pick up that drink and manage the anxiety, right, to not drink or use drugs. And all of that is whirling in their heads all the time. And really just, how can I support? I mean, even now, I don't know, like you had called to schedule a massage. Why couldn't, I knew I needed that done. I had really bad lower back pain, and you did that. I think that just support like that helps. And so it's just kind of being a team, I guess, with the other person, instead of, you need to be doing this, or what are you even stopping for? like I don't know, just putting on these expectations. And I think another thing is the person without the substance use disorder should do their research, also get help. One thing that's said over and over again, and I don't know if this is, some people agree, some people don't, but it's a family disease. That's because the other person is also usually sick. Now, not like sick like how you would think, but just as in like they've been enabling this person. They've been maybe going out to the store to get the booze because the other person doesn't have money or can't drive. That's enabling. Or doing things like going to the bar
or just picking up pieces.
Yeah, just constantly. And now they don't have that because they're not drinking. And so how do they take care of themselves again? They've been taking care of this person with the substance use disorder for so long. And now they don't have that. And so, or they do, it's just different, but really they need to just take care of themselves. You could do Al-Anon, right? That's going to teach you about addiction in itself. It's going to teach you about the substance use disorder. It's going to teach you about the person that's using, how to handle yourself, how to, right? You go through steps, same as 12-step program. You go through, you're powerless over this thing, the person with the substance use disorder. You're powerless over that. You have no control over what they do and what they're doing. And then you'll go through and work on letting go of whatever you were doing for that person, letting that go. And then really just taking care of yourself, doing a 10th step. A 10th step is an inventory, self-inventory. So every night you do a self-inventory. Could I have done things better, differently? What did I do well today? What did I not do so well today? Do I have to make any amends to people? So really it just focuses on you. Just quotes, the enabler, right? It focuses on you and getting you better. And not so enmeshed in this other person. And like how you were, right? As an example, is just that I had to move out. However, I could call you and we could talk. That's fine, right? You're not saying, get over here. What do you need? I'll drive you up to the cities. I had people doing that for me. They would drive me, like my family, drive me up to go get drugs. Like that's, like it's not make people feel bad like that. It's just the name of the game. That's how it happens. And that's kind of that family disease, and so that also that person could go get therapy and learn a few things, right? How to work on themselves again. They've been working on this addict for so long and trying to convince them to stop drinking, convince them to stop using drugs, right? They've been just trying to give them advice and here, you need to do this and that, blah, 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 right? And now they've been neglecting themselves, working on this other person. So that's what I would suggest is really just, I don't know if that kind of went off on a tangent, but that was the original thought. But
no, I think it's important stuff. And you said something about shame.
Yeah.
Which I think just really resonates with me. Just countless articles, countless interviews with people that are active users or in recovery. Some of them have been in recovery and sober for decades. And it used to be, somebody would talk to them about, and I'm thinking almost specifically right now of a interview with Steven Tyler, the lead singer to Aerosmith, that somebody would say, how it was amazing how much drugs he could take. Mm-hmm. And he said back in the day that would have been like a compliment. And now it's just this wave of shame, like just wants to shrink away. And you think about everything he has, everything he's done, good and bad, like the amazing things he's done. I want like the positive things, the amazing things he's seen and been able to do and feel. And yet that is crushing. And not that everybody, I think this is a little bit too eggs in one basket, a little bit, that everybody has to follow the same protocols to get the desired result. That's not true. And that's not discounting the eggs in the basket. I mean, I'm just saying, like, you don't have to feel like everybody's baskets are going to be the same.
Oh, sure.
For him, for him, he needs his 12-step program. He needs to go to a meeting twice a month. If he doesn't, he knows, he can tell, he can change, he can sense the change in thinking. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Well, one, that he recognizes it. Yep. But, it's for him. And I think this is important. I think this is really important, actually. For him.
That's what he needs.
He needs that. Because I don't want to forget. And I think almost every single one of these I've done, I bring it up because I think it's that important, because there's a stigma going on too. Not everybody's the same. Some people can use this stuff and never have a disorder with it. Mm-hmm. And some people will be hard, whatever your the extreme level or the highest levels of it.
Yep.
And one day they're just going to be like, F this. I'm sick of going to jail. Or whatever the negative repercussions are, whatever they are, I'm done. And they do it. And even against good judgment, the danger they're taking upon themselves because of the withdrawal side effects, putting themselves in real peril. When I'm thinking of like alcoholism for sure comes to mind, but they're done and they do it. Mm-hmm. They're not a statistic. They're nowhere to be found on any statistic for recovery. Because who would know? They just got sick of it one day.
Right. That's their way. And that's perfectly fine. Yep.
I guess I say it again. I guess I say this a lot too. And it's so hard to do. It's so hard to do it and be accurate with it. But be honest. Can I do it? Because some people can do it. Some people can just stop. I'm done. I'm out. I'm done. And others, Steven Tyler. If I don't go twice a month, I'm in trouble. Yeah. And that's okay too. That is so okay. Yep. Right. And
they call that like relapsing and thinking is really because the relapse or what, the continued use doesn't start when they pick up the drug or the drink. I mean, it starts way prior to that. It's kind of this gradual decline. And then you pick up your solution. Your solution to all your problems and what's going on in your head is to mask it and to shut the feelings down and use the substance. And so it makes sense that that's kind of where his brain might not even be thinking, oh, I really want to use, drugs today. It could just be like, I'm in a negative mood. Okay, maybe something's missing. For him, it's AA. For somebody else, it might be that they're in AA all the time, but they need more, like therapy or to do something new, like have adventure, because that happens too, where people get complacent. They're going to AA meetings every day. They're working the steps. They have therapy even, but they're bored, and the thing that they used for fun, the thing that they used for everything is gone. And so they need some adventure, and that might be going for a hike, for whatever reason, or just doing something different. It doesn't even have to be like super extreme. I mean, it could be trying out knitting. I don't know, like just something, because they've never done it before. So it'll give them some like, hey, I'm going to learn this new skill, or, welding or something, whatever. It's just that they aren't doing anything different. They've been doing the same thing for years. And now they're like, why would I keep doing it? I'm bored. You need something.
Yeah, I would think it'd be really, really difficult to deal with the fact that you're probably never going to experience something quite at the level.
Never, yeah.
To really understand and accept that it was fake. Like chemically, what was going on was fake. You can't reproduce it normally.
Naturally, yeah. No.
Yeah, it can't happen.
It, but not nearly as significant. No.
But if you can get to the point where you can accept that the good points, the high points, the good things, what should be euphoric, while maybe not at the level that you had with the chemical or substance, whatever, it's still way up there and still worth appreciating because it's real.
Yep.
I can get into any kind of reality discussion with anybody about, really model dependent realism, but.
And I think where that starts, acceptance, right? That you'll never feel anything like it again. You just won't. That's just the way it is. So better start working on accepting that now, instead of later. But I think it starts really with, that, and then being at peace, having serenity within yourself, kind of having this connection with yourself and who you are and loving yourself and not feeling that shame and guilt and, kind of letting go, accepting the fact that this has happened. You were in it. People are mad at you. They don't want to be around you anymore. Even though you're sober, they still don't trust you. That's just reality. And then working on that slowly, but first working on yourself. Because, the way people trust you is that you're taking action to work on yourself, and you carry yourself differently now. You're not head down, mad at the world, things like that. Yeah, you're just more at peace and whatever, some people don't like that word, but that's just kind of connecting holistically, I suppose, but the mind, body, soul type deal. Like it's all connected and feeling okay. You're okay to spend the night at home. You're okay to just be, I guess, just kind of live life on life's terms is a saying in the recovery world. There was one thing I was going to say just really quick that you had said before about shame. And so when other people are around their loved one with a substance use disorder and you see that they feel guilty, feel shameful, things like that, separating, because sometimes what will happen is we can get in this like pity party, feel bad for me, right? I'm in this world of hurt. I don't have my license. I have court coming up. Oh my God, pour me, right? And then the saying in AA, pour me another drink. And so recognizing that, and even for the person with the substance use disorder, recognizing that you're in that, you're not just, you have a lot of shame and you need to work on that, but not looking at all the negative in your life. You can't continue to focus on that. Otherwise, you will be back in that using world again because it's too much to handle. I mean, to handle all of it all at once is too much to handle for anybody. That's just, you have all these negative consequences and then you're trying to handle them. But instead, what you're doing is sitting there like, my life sucks, pour me. And so not to encourage that behavior. Not to fall into that because it gets hard. It's hard. It's easy to focus on the negative. I think we all do it. I would really suggest having somebody normal.
I do.
Yeah. I think it's natural for everybody to do it. And so waking up, what I suggest is like waking up in gratitude instead of thinking about things you have to do today, right? Oh, I have all these things to do. I do it too. And so instead waking up and going, your first thought for the day, this is from Dr. Amid Sood, waking up and just 3 people I'm grateful for, 3 things I'm grateful for. That's what your first thought is every morning. Really sets your day up for success because you're walking around with gratitude. You could even end your night that way too. Is important because you have a lot of good things.
It's probably been a year or 2 since I've cracked the top 3 too. You had said living life on life's terms. Mm-hmm. And I think that does coincide well with, I think, step 1, where you kind of surrender. I don't know if surrender is the word they use.
It's more step 3. Yeah. You're giving your will over to a higher greater than yourself, giving it all over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because what I don't like about what I'm going to say is it might give people license. So it's dangerous. You're not in as much control as you think you are.
Right.
And I think that plays well with that living life on life's terms and the kind of accepting or surrendering to a power higher than yourself, whatever that may be. Okay. Mm-hmm. Some people, it's a no-brainer what it is, specifically religion. Other people, it's maybe a little more difficult.
Yep.
But that would be one thing is you're not in as much control as you think you are. But that, I think, should be a positive in that there can be a certain level of forgiveness and try to reduce. Yeah, because I don't think you'll ever eliminate shame. it wouldn't have to be just for that. It's anything, right? I mean, there's just.
So I think you could eliminate shame. You can't eliminate guilt. Guilt is one thing. Guilt is positive. Okay. You can, guilt. That's.
I think a lot of people would correlate the two.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and maybe that's looking at definitions.
Maybe that I'll just phrase it that way. You're never going to fully eliminate the guilt, but I think you can reduce it down to more reasonable levels. And who am I to say what level is reasonable? But that you can now function and do the things you need to do to get your life back. And like what I keep hearing throughout our conversation is keep stacking the odds in your favor. To keep doing these things, not just one thing, multiple things, to keep stacking the odds in your favor of success. And that, again, that spills over outside of recovery into just life in general.
Very much.
So you could just keep doing that. And maybe there's something for like a part 3, maybe there's a little something there to build on with. We had talked a little, well, I think the title of our first one together was The Road to Redemption, or the road to redemption. And we can maybe even revisit that with you start stacking those odds in your favor for success, that these are the steps to just succeed. Stack the odds that you're going to succeed in recovery, but don't stop there.
No, yeah, you have to continue throughout. And I don't one thing, anybody can work the 12 steps. I think if you're really struggling in life and you just don't know what to do, start there and just, utilize how it pertains to you. I think that's with a lot of things. How does this pertain to me? Not looking at the things that don't pertain to you, which happens a lot. Like, oh, well, none of this pertains to me because it has the word God in it. A lot of it does. Just don't focus so much on that word, look at other things.
So does the money you're using. It's true. No, I agree. I think I would recite something Russell Brand said, and I've repeated because I like it. If you're not working a program, your programming is working you.
Yeah, I like that. That's good.
And I don't think people think of themselves as operating systems running programs, but that's almost exactly what you are and what you're doing.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I think too, like if you do get sober and you're still struggling, look at mental health. I think they both go very much hand in hand. Not that everybody has trauma history or bad childhood or bad things, happen to them, and they still have this substance use disorder, right? But they could just have anxiety. I mean, without any trauma, without anything. And that's what's really bringing them back to the substance use. So I think at least exploring it is worth it. And then I also think what helped me is having support. That connection was a big factor, because even if I'm struggling now, I have people to call, girlfriends, I've reconnected with family members that I can call on. And when I was really just getting out, I had nobody really. Like there was nobody trusted. Like they didn't want to talk to me. They didn't trust me. They didn't want to hear it. So they wanted to support me. However, they didn't trust I was actually at the road of, hey, I'm ready to get out, because I had said it so many times. So, and I think having both, having people, like if you're struggling with substance use, I think having people that can relate with you is important, like that have also struggled. And then also having people that haven't struggled, but live a productive life. I think because they can kind of, what it really did for me is ground me. So when I'm having all these like irrational thoughts and just thinking my world's crumbling around me, which I did at 8 months, at a year and a half, like it's not like there was some number where it was like like we were talking about, where it's like a month in and I was cured, right? There was none of that. It still isn't like that. There's still things that I can continue to work on and grow. But having somebody to be like, you know, when I would go to this person that didn't have a substance use disorder, like, is this normal? Like, you operate on you're positive in your life. You have good things going for you. How do you operate? How do you think about things? Because I don't know anymore. You know, I have these thoughts that I think are correct, but they're just all over the place. And then, I mean, specifically you'd be like, no, why look at it like that? You know, like, look at it like this. And then like things would just click, and I would really be like, okay, maybe I don't need to panic over this, you know, because obviously this person has an answer. I don't know if it's the correct way, but I didn't care, because all I needed was something to just kind of ground me a little bit. And I could trust in that, because your life or whatever, somebody who doesn't struggle wasn't in shambles all the time like mine was. And so how do you do that? That was really important. And I didn't have connection. I think really the first time that I had been sober, I didn't have that connection. I didn't think I got along with girls. Girls are catty and always full of drama, right? So I didn't really have that or connect. And then I realized, no, they can be my biggest support and cheerleaders. They're amazing. You just have to, anybody, whatever gender, however they identify, doesn't mean that they don't have drama or things in their life. So that didn't really matter. It was really just, are they good people? Are they looking to have the same thing I am, and like just living life on life's terms, right? And do we connect? And if we did, I held on to that. And if it was like, I would kind of reach out and, because from before I have substance use disorder and generalized anxiety disorder. And so it was hard for me to dial phone numbers, to talk to people, things like that. But I had enough pain. And so when I was told that I needed to connect with people, that's what I did. And I would ask for a phone number, and it would take everything out of me to do that. Hey, we want to hang out sometime? Like, what do? Do you go up to somebody and be like, hey, will you be my friend? You know, like I'm in grade school.
That's what I did.
It was just so, but that's what I did, because it was so important to me that I didn't go back to the girl in the truck puking on my way to, get my next fix. So, yeah.
And on that note, we're going to wrap this up. Yeah, I really do appreciate you coming on again.
Yeah.
I hope we can have you on again. And really thank you so much for being so honest and open, talking about some pretty sensitive subjects and memories and stuff like that.
No problem.
And just,
as long as it helps somebody.
I don't know. It's probably really, really corny. But I just, you said it's 7 years in recovery. And I just really, really hope that you're very, very proud of yourself for that, because that is a heck of an accomplishment.
Thank you.
And I hope there's many, many more of those in store in the future. So
as long as I keep working on myself, it'll work out. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you everyone for listening again. Remember, you can listen on your very favorite podcast app or YouTube. Don't forget to hit the like button, and you hit the little bell. You can subscribe and get alerts that the next episode is out. And thank you again to NAPA for sponsoring. I look forward to talking to you guys again.
You've been listening to Matt Fanslow, Diagnosing the Aftermarket A to Z on the Aftermarket Radio Network. Follow Matt on your favorite listening app. He's very interested in what you have to say. Let him know what you'd like him to cover and come on the show. Matt is all for advancing the aftermarket. Find Matt Fanslow on social media and connect, or on aftermarketradionetwork.com.